Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking about episode 12 of season 5 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Before I get right into that, if you're watching my reviews of Green Lantern the Animated Series and Young Justice, just as a reminder to you guys, I was able to review those when they were sort of leaked via iTunes back in October. So if you want to see those reviews for the episodes that were shown this week, just go to the appropriate playlist on my channel and you can check those out. Now, let's dive right into this episode. And we're still on the adventures of R2-D2 and Gascon or Garmond or Garcon or, whatever the name of the little Ferengi tube grub guy is. And thankfully, this looks to be like what we're probably going to be, what is hopefully going to be the end of the storyline. Although I think there's enough going on that they could maybe stretch it out for one more. But honestly, I'm kind of ready for this episode to end. This has not been a terribly strong story arc for the series. This episode wasn't bad. I'll give it that. It was just okay. There's just so much else that they could really be doing with these episodes, and this just really doesn't seem like the best use of storytelling. Now, it's not that I don't like R2-D2 either. It's just when the character that you're trying to really draw people in with, is a robot that can't even talk, and that's really the strongest selling point of a storyline. You're really going to have to bring something special to make up for the fact that your big lead character can't actually make a sound. And this storyline just really has not been bringing that. Now, let's kind of get into a few things that I noticed this episode. First of all, let's take a moment to be amazed at some of the stuff that they got past the radar with this episode. In the very early episode, when the droids and the map reading fellow are strolling through the town, you see what is pretty clearly intended to be a prostitute attempting to solicit a Doug. That's a little fellow that the weird kind of weird fellows that sort of walk on their what looks like their hands. Remember Sebulba from episode 1 was one of the is a Doug. So yeah, I was genuinely surprised that they got that in there. And speaking of our intrepid mission commander, did you notice that he takes the time to discuss his secret military plans in the middle of the street of a settlement that has yet to be determined to be friendly or unfriendly? And then he goes and announces who he is the minute he walks into that diner. If he just kept his mouth shut, yeah, that certainly would have been a lot better for mission security. But of course, this is really a mission that's really more about Garmon's. I keep wanting to call him Garcon, even though I know that's not right. But this is so much of this episode. This mission is really just about his ego. Even after everything that's happened, he still hasn't really evolved past that, which is really kind of one of the things that sort of really is a mark against his character, especially since we saw fairly early on in the storyline that he did seem to eventually gain some appreciation for the droids. So it really seems like his character's kind of backsliding here. Now, last time around, I could cut him a little slack because he thought he was lost in the desert and thought he was going to die a horrible and painful death. So, okay, but still. Okay, so fellow at the diner. Now, he was a member of the Sulist race, and I gotta say, I don't think I've ever seen one of the Sulists with hair. But we've seen, if you've been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, you've seen Sulists who are essentially about as tall as humans, and in some cases rather lanky. Now, the Sulists are usually kind of like the fellow Neb something or other, the weird little alien guy that hung around with Lando in the movies. Okay, that's what a Sulist is supposed to be. And I just sort of assume that what we're seeing here with these variations of what we're used to seeing from the Sulist race are just sort of subspecies. We've seen this with various races within the Star Wars universe, like the Twi'leks. I believe the Feline have some subspecies going on. I could be wrong on that one though. The Gotal maybe, or the Bothans. Well, anyway, subspecies and members of a species who bear noticeable physical dissimilarities are not unheard of in the Star Wars universe, so I can kind of let this one slide. Now, one thing that I did get a big kick out of was going around mentioning, saying, buy Malachor and all this other stuff. Well, okay, if you are a fan of the Knights of the Old Republic games, which I've repeatedly stated I am, you recognize the name Malachor as being a place where some very, very big stuff happened. So I definitely got a kick out of that right there. Now, this episode we're introduced to the character of Gregor. And Gregor is an okay character. He's about as good as you're going to get with a character who is introduced and, has their storyline in the course of an episode that's about 22 minutes. That's not a whole lot of time to introduce a new character, give us a feel for him, and then have that character grow and change and come to some sort of, I don't want to say conclusion, but some sort of a climax. Now, granted, Gregor does come to a pretty nice ending. He goes from a guy who couldn't win a fight against a fat dude who ran a diner to taking on an entire bunch of mini droid army all by himself. And of course, it's strongly implied that we may see him again. And it wouldn't surprise me. There's one thing that Star Wars writers just can't resist. It's a dangling plot thread. So I'm sure some point down the line, Gregor will turn up one way or another. But as I said, we just really didn't have a lot of time to really get to feel what's going on with Gregor as a character. He's really more a storyline than he was a character in my book. If they'd forced this out over a few episodes, this would have, I think, been a much more satisfying thing, but really, this particular story arc has really about run its course, so I guess this is about as good as we can expect under the circumstances. Now, another thing that I did like was when I am not going to call him Garcon. I will not do that. When he said, are you ready to get dangerous? And I'm pretty sure this was a shout out to the 90s animated series Darkwing Duck. Sort of a, if you're not familiar with it, was sort of a very, very amusing, very well written, very fun sort of satire on the whole sort of superhero Batman, the Shadow-esque superheroes. And Darkwing Duck's catchphrase was, "Let's get dangerous." So I have a feeling that this was probably a bit of a shout out to that, which is more than a little ironic given that Darkwing Duck was a Disney show, and of course Disney did recently acquire the rights to all things Star Wars. But of course this episode would have been written and filmed and voice acted well before that happened, most likely. So this is probably just a fortuitous coincidence. So I really don't have too much else to say about this episode. I will give this episode credit. The fight at the end where Gregor goes out and he, like I said, takes on that little mini droid army all by himself is quite impressive. It really shows why clone commandos are not folks to be taken lightly. Folks who are fans of the Republic Commando series are probably just sitting out there going, yeah, well, no, duh. I actually did try and get into the Republic Commando series. I got to about 150 pages through the first novel, and it just wasn't my thing. Let's leave it at that. Not a knock to anybody who enjoyed that sort of thing. It just wasn't to my particular tastes. So with that said, I really don't have too much else to add, folks. I'm overall feeling a little bit of disappointment at this season. When we were seeing the previews for what was we were going to come up this coming season, we got to see a lot of stuff with Darth Maul. We got to see some hints that Darth Sidious was going to be dealing with some things personally, and just a whole lot of good old fashioned butt kicking. You know, the Sith going out there being evil and doing lots of nasty stuff. And we did certainly get that at the start of the season, but since then it's sort of petered out, which is unfortunately a tendency of the show. It starts off on a high note, but the stuff that's in the middle, and it tends to end very well, but the stuff in the middle tends to be kind of hit or miss in terms of quality. And this is a sort of on the mark episode. Anyway, I'm definitely ready for the little Tube Grub guy's adventures to end. I want to go back to spending some time with Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and of course seeing more Darth Maul, Savage Opress, Darth Sidious. I'm ready for some lightsabers to clash. And with that said, folks, I'm going to wrap it up here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.